Hey everybody, how are you? This is Dave. Hey, I've been doing some thinking today, some really interesting nuggets. You always like to do nuggets, right? One of the things I've learned in life, the more nuggets you have, the better you are equipped in validating and making more intellectual understanding of things rather than looking at something and feeling good about it because you heard from someone or you've seen people living a good life and you go, oh, they have a really special life. They must know something, right? So, I mean, that happens in the LDS faith, obviously. But, a lot of people do convert because they want a better life. They feel like, maybe their life is not that good. And so they look at the LDS faith as a role model to help improve them, right? And there are a lot of different religions out there. It's just not LDS that have good systems and good ways of life to improve your life. And so I'm all about sanctification and trying to be more Christ-like, God-like in the sense of having removing Dave Bartosowitz, right? Removing more of me so that God can infuse His grace and His divine nature, His divine energies into me. And so that's what sanctification is all about, right? But that's another subject, and I want to share a couple ideas. I was thinking about, and I'm in the state, as you know, of Utah, and there's so many temples here, an incredible amount of temples. I mean, if you go all throughout the state, Utah has obviously the most temples out of any states in the nation. You're looking in from St. George, Utah, it has a temple, to Cedar City, it has a temple. Up in Santaquin, it has a temple. In Provo, it has a temple. In what is it, I believe it's Timpview. It has a temple, and Timpanogos is in that area, Lehigh area. And then it has a temple in Draper. It has another temple in Jordan, South Jordan, two temples in that area. And then it goes onward. It goes up to Salt Lake, that has a temple downtown. And then in Bountiful, it has a temple. And then you go up to Ogden, it has a temple. And then further on up in Brigham City, it has a temple. And then Logan, it has a temple. I mean, a lot of temples in a very short area, short distance. And now I live in the Davis area, and I guess they just came out with a new temple coming in late in Utah. And I thought to myself, why are they putting so many temples all throughout the state of Utah? And you got to ask yourself, can't people, go 20 minutes to another temple, drive, or 15 minutes away? I know people who are watching this throughout the world. If you're Mormon, you go, yeah, I live in the East and there's not many temples. I have to travel 4 or 5 hours to go to a temple. So, Utah has a lot. And you got to ask the question, why do they have so many? I really think what's happening in the LDS faith, they're not growing that much. But one of the most important things in the LDS faith that they really believe in is tithing, right? And that is a way that the faith can continue to grow and build and accomplish the things that they have. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but the majority of tithing revenues, I believe, and I've heard this, comes from the state of Utah. And one of the things that they do here in Utah is that if you have a temple, you have to be temple worthy. And if you are temple worthy, you have to pay full tithe. And so it's a sort of requirement, if you will, I don't know if you know this or not, a requirement to obtain a temple recommend to go into the temple to take upon the ordinances that they provide to live eternally with God. So it is a requirement, and I have heard in the past where you have apostles saying that it's good fire insurance with paying your tithing, so you don't get burned, right? I've heard that actually, and so the thing that I want to address here is there's so many temples going on, and as you know, Utah, the people who live in Utah give a lot of their money to the LDS Church. I was thinking, in my area, there's 96% LDS people, and I see many older people, right, who are, that's sort of their mission in life afterwards. After they retire, they usually go to the temple close by, and what happens is they do their temple ordinances for other people who have died too, so that they hopefully can get baptized and have the option to either agree with the baptism or marriage or whatever. They try to do all these ordinances for a number of people who have died, to give them that chance to have an eternal marriage, to be saved in the kingdom of God in heaven if they are baptized in the LDS faith. So they do that with millions and millions of people all throughout who have died and so forth in the past. But the thing I was thinking about, as the millennials, now this is going to be a very interesting idea. The millennials are what are they? A lot of them are not really believing in religion, if you will. Many of them are not believing in the Mormon faith because there's so much information going on. And they're not accepting what their parents taught them. I mean, I hear it over and over and over again. 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, you would never hear people leaving the LDS faith. Since the internet, many people are leaving, right? Because they're understanding more of what the history is all about and how they don't agree with a lot of it. So many get very, hurt, and they go, this is really what Mormonism about, the historical basis of it, and they leave. They get affected. And one of my things that I've done a great deal of time is talk to people who have left the LDS faith but have come to a relationship with Christ. Try to bring them, because there's many who leave and absolutely they don't have a relationship. They leave God, and it terrifies me. And I know there's a lot of other people who are like me, trying to bring them into a relationship with Christ. And so one of the things that I really would like to talk about is what's going to happen about 30, 40 years. I mean, it costs a lot of money to, produce these temples, to pay for the expenses. If you have you have a lot of the older people who are going and taking upon themselves to volunteer in these temples, what's going to happen in 25, 30, 40 years, where a lot of these older people are going to die off, and this next generation that's coming is not really engaged in Mormonism in temples. I wonder how many temples are going to go under, if they could afford to do that, because people who retired also don't have that much money. So 10% of retirees is a small amount. But many of them don't have an income. They're based on a fixed income, so it changes. The most amount of money that people usually make is from their late 20s till the beginning of 60, and that's it, pretty much. And so afterwards it does change. But I thought I would give that idea out there, and you could certainly, do you think that's going to be a concern for the LDS faith? Something you might want to consider and talk about. But they have so many temples here. It's like the amount of temples is like churches, what Christian churches have here. It's incredible. There's so many temples here. So anyway, just a little thought, little idea, and God bless you, and thanks so much for watching. Take care.